to go and burn his office. You burn a national property. Now the government have to find money, build another EC office, stock it, furnish it. That money could have gone somewhere to provide chairs and tables for a deprived school.
All right. We're grateful for your insights on this topic.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's Eric from Kumasi. He's also called to have his say on this. What do you think about all of the violence, those pockets of violence that happened after the election? We had virtually a smooth process during the day. It was when the counting and coalition began that all of these issues started. Let's hear from you what you believe. The two political parties called on their grassroots and their supporters to go to the coalition centers. For what reason and to what end? And couldn't they have managed the situation better? You can have your say. We'll pick about 2 calls before we end the segment this morning on ABC in the Morning. 0539161609. 0539161609. Let's hear what you have to say about this topic. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from.
Good morning. My name is Emmanuel Amuzu.
Okay, Emmanuel, have your say.
I'm calling from Isam.
Okay.
You see, people are just pushing everything on NDC. How do you know that those who went to burn those things are MPPs or are even not political parties members? Let us think in this way. Somebody must be doing something which you might think that, it is doing it to against somebody, because they know that when they do it, they will say, is this party that is doing that? I don't want to mention parties. So let's think double way. Let's condemn everything that is happening totally. They should arrest people who are doing the thing and send them to court. When we do that, all this rubbish will stop.
Okay. Thank
you.
And
then watch. You see, people are moving to the coalition center because they know they do rig at the coalition center. That's why the parties are saying this. Their supporters will go there, because when you will be there, and then they will be bringing fake ballot boxes.
So you support the party supporters storming the coalition centers? Are you saying that?
If the Electoral Commission representatives there are to do the just to everything, all these things will never happen. So let us see the Electoral Commission agents over there. Those who are mandated to do the right thing and they are not doing. But I don't support destroying things.
All right. Thank you for calling.
I support doing justice, okay? But the Electoral Commission to check people, those who are involved of those fake tampering with the pink sheet, or they have to send them to court.
All right. We are grateful for your time this morning. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
So that's all for Ghana Speaks this morning on ABC in the Morning. In our subsequent ABC in the Morning shows, we will bring you more conversations where you too will have the opportunity to speak on the show, because it is only your voice that matters, and it is your voice alone we want to hear on Ghana Speaks. Up next is Business Fix. We'll be back. You're welcome back on Business Fix this morning. We're looking at the feasibility of tax cuts amid all of the revenue concerns we have in this country. As part of his first 120-day social contract with the people of Ghana, the president-elect John Dramani Mahama has pledged to scrap certain taxes. And these taxes, he describes them as draconian in a bid to alleviate hardships and reduce the high cost of doing business in Ghana. These taxes include the e-levy, the COVID levy, a 10% levy on betting winnings, and the emissions levy. These are the taxes that he is saying that he will cut. Today on Business Fix, we examine the feasibility of these proposed tax cuts, especially considering the country's ongoing revenue challenges. Let's take you back to 2023, where e-levy generated some 1.19 billion Ghana cedis, while the Ghana Revenue Authority also reported that bet tax, or that 10% bet levy on bet winnings, brought in 15 million Ghana cedis in just 1 month. Only 1 month. The Ghana Revenue Authority reported that. The emissions levy, for those of us who do not know much about the emissions levy, is a levy that took effect in February 1 in this year. And it is part of government's broader efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and promote eco-friendly technologies. We've had some conversations on this emissions levy. So some people will be paying certain amounts of money because they use various vehicles. But let's look at whether these taxes bring Ghana some amount of money. Fitch Solutions, which is a research arm of Fitch Ratings, stated that if we remove these taxes, it will have a very minimal impact on Ghana's revenue, because if you combine all of these taxes I named, they account for just 3% of the total revenue. However, in 2020, the World Bank also reported that Ghana's revenue mobilization is low. Our taxes is low because of low tax compliance and all. So you see that there are conversations here and conversation there, because we face a deficit in widening our tax nets. And then we also have a very high rising debt. A very latest survey by the Ghanaian tax system, published by the Ministry of Finance in October of this year, revealed that Ghana's tax to GDP ratio was 13.8% in 2022, which is still below the government's target. Government had targeted that we will have between 18 to 20% by 2027. So all of these issues come up, and you ask, is it right that the Mahama government will indeed cut off these taxes? If they cut off these taxes, where do we plug the hole? Or where do we plug the hole? Where will we be getting other revenues from to support the economy? We'll be having conversation with Joe Jackson, who is the CEO of Dalex Finance. He joins us on the line. Good morning, sir. We are grateful for your time.
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to be alive.
Right. It is good to be alive. The John Mahama government says that when it assumes office on January 7, within 120 days, they will be cutting off some taxes: e-levy, COVID levy, emissions levy, bet winnings levy. They will cut all of that. Will there be any implementing these tax cuts as he is stating he will be doing?
Okay, now remember that you can always cut taxes. When you cut taxes, then it means that your income is less, which ultimately means that you either got to find new sources of income or reduce expenditure. And so cutting taxes is not the challenge. It's either finding the new sources of revenue or the cutting expenditure. That's always the problem.
Find a new means of revenue away from taxes. because the whole conversation is about tax. You don't want tax. So if you are taking it away, taxes that give us some amount of money, where indeed in our current economic landscape are we going to get the revenue to plug that hole?
Well, first of all, too few people pay taxes. And the problem with the taxes is that it's the same people who pay more and more tax. You've got to get a lot more Ghanaians paying direct taxes. You've got to tax the assets we have, the land, etc. And direct taxes have to increase. So the problem is not that you can't take the taxes away, but how are you going to fill it up? And it's not just, we can't have a blanket statement that we'll take away taxes and not introduce any new taxes. We have to introduce taxes. We have to make sure they are direct. When we mean they are direct, is that they are tied to how much you earn. They are tied to the property you have. And then, of course, we must reduce expenditure. The good thing is that the government, the Mahama government, incoming Mahama government, has also promised to reduce the size of government and to reduce the size. But it is not going to be a free lunch. You see, the one thing we should all be realistic about is that the public purse is empty, that there's no fat left on the bone, that there's a deficit, huge deficit. And whatever happens, we as Ghanaians will have to sit down and agree on the things that we want to do. There's not going to be a free lunch.
Okay. But when we look at the fact that we need to pay direct taxes in this country, how sustainable is this going to be that people, the Ghanaian populace, pay direct taxes?
We've been talking about direct taxes for ages. Direct taxes that will go to, so that there will be property taxes, right? And Ghana is one of the few countries that aspires to bigger and better things, but still doesn't want to tax property, or that property taxes form such a small percentage of what we do. I don't see why anybody who owns land, anybody who has registered land, should pay property taxes. Should pay the taxes on the land. You have a building, pay the property taxes. And those new tax handles will give us increased income to maybe take off some of the taxes that we find as nuisance taxes.
Okay. Well, this issue of balancing taxes and also increasing public revenue, where have we fallen short in sensitizing the Ghanaian on the need to pay taxes? Because one of the issues that always arises is that it seems the Ghanaian does not understand why I need to pay tax on everything, or I need to even pay taxes. And so how can government sensitize Ghanaians better so that now we become a people that are not tax averse?
By attacking corruption. The challenge we have is simply this. If I feel that the money I pay is being looted, is being used, is being taken away in corrupt ways, and is not being applied to my benefit, then I'm reluctant to pay any more. But if I can see evidence of what my money is being used for, I can see evidence that that money is being applied in a good way, then it might be easier to get people to pay more taxes. We have to attack corruption. In fact, one of the things that we must do is to recover all the money that is being looted or supposedly looted.
Okay. Let's look at the steps that government can use to strengthen the tax administration here. The GRA has said that they have improved on receiving taxes or collecting taxes in the country. So if we will strengthen our tax administration in the country beyond what the GRA has done, what are the factors government should be looking at in its let's say in also its first 120 days in office?
Sorry, you have to come again because I'm getting confused.
Okay. GRA says that it has been able to collect more taxes than it previously used to do. And GRA in various conversations has mentioned the fact that it's gone paperless and some of the things they put in place to boost their system. On the parts beyond all of what they have done, what can government and GRA also do the more to strengthen the tax administration in the country so that Ghanaians can see that we have a more transparent system and will be comfortable to give their monies still?
One good thing they can do is to link together the tax databases. You see, you go to the port, you bring in 10 containers. You pay some tax there. Then you come and pay income tax. At the moment, there's no direct link. So you can be declaring one thing at one side and a different thing at another side. When we link those databases, when we bring them all together, they need to be harder for you to under-declare here and do things wrongly at another place. That will help improve our tax collection. One of the things we must do is to link all the tax databases together. The VAT, the port, the income taxes, all of them must come together.
Jackson, the issue about the BET taxes, some believe that is a populist agenda because the government wants to inure itself to the youth of the country because it is mainly the youth that you see in betting. Do you agree with them?
Well, as to is the tax an irritant for the youth of this country? Yes. I very personally detest betting.
Okay.
And I think betting is a way of diverting the little income the youth have into different pockets. I have absolutely no problem with taxing bet winnings and even taxing it the more. In this sense, I'm one of the people who says that I don't see really why you should take off the betting tax, because betting is an addiction that is destroying the youth of the country. So anything that will make it even less attractive is good.
But what will make it less attractive?
Why not? You should even tax it more.
To what percentage? What percentage would you say it should be taxed the more?
Oh, since you didn't earn it, what's wrong with taxing it at 20%?
Okay. But one of the concerns some youth have raised is that it is my money. I took a chance on the money and I have gotten some good money out of that chance. Why should you, who did not work on it, want a percentage of something that I took a chance on?
I'm not approaching it. I'm approaching it this way.
All right.
That the same way we have very high taxes on cigarettes. The same way we have high taxes on other addictions. We should have high taxes on betting, simply because we want to reduce the addiction. And anything that makes it less attractive will reduce their trust of that addiction.
Before we let you go, Fitch Solutions says that all of these taxes combined, the COVID levy, the e-levy, the bet winnings, the emissions levy, only accounts for 3% of the total revenue in the country. Since it is 3%, do you think that it will be negligible if the government decided not to pay attention to cutting of these taxes?
You see, at the point we are, you remember I said there's no fat left.
Right.
Even that 3% will represent pain if it is not looked at properly.
Okay. Well, a new government will be constituted in a few weeks, in basically in a month's time. Mr. Joe Jackson, if you had the opportunity to prefer your some thoughts or some words of wisdom to the government concerning our revenue or our fiscal situation as a country at the moment, what would you say to them?
Collect make a huge effort to collect direct taxes.
Okay. Right. Make a huge effort to collect direct taxes. We are grateful for your time. We'll do all to come back for more conversations on these, looking at whether indeed the government will be able to cut these taxes in its first 120 days. We are grateful for your time, Mr. Joe Jackson.
Thank you.
Joe Jackson is the CEO for Dalex Finance. He says that government must make a huge effort in collecting direct taxes from Ghanaians so that the tax bracket is widened. At the moment, taxes are only on a certain select few, and the public purse is empty. On the issue of taxes on bet winnings, he says that betting is an addiction, and the way we treat cigarettes and the others by taxing them hugely to reduce the addiction, that is how we should treat betting, so that it is taxed the more, and by doing that we'll reduce that addiction amongst those who are found betting in the country. That's all for Business Fix this morning on ABC in the morning. We will take a short break. When we come back, our main discussion begins. Stay with us. I can still watching ABC in the morning, live on ABC News GH. Like I told you earlier, they're streaming on our YouTube channel, ABC News GH. So if you are leaving home, rest assured you can still follow us here on ABC in the morning. On our main discussion today, we are looking at everything after the elections, post-election. So far, the latest is that the Electoral Commission has declared some contentious parliamentary results as illegal. And the operative word is illegal. The Electoral Commission has suspended the recollation of presidential and parliamentary elections results, which took place at the Tesano Police Depot. The exercise was meant for constituencies whose collation did not follow the legal process as enshrined in CI 127, as well as constituencies where collation on election day could not be completed. These actions by the Electoral Commission have since generated a lot of controversy as to the amicable arrangement to resolve the impasse. Notably in these developments is the recollation of collation centers and the redeclaration of results, which seemed to mirror concerns from the 2020 elections, particularly that of Techiman South constituency. You have heard the Techiman South a lot during conversations. People have been referring us to what transpired in 2020 in Techiman South. The EC's 2020 stance, as outlined in CI 127, emphasized that recollation can only happen before results are declared. Once declared, dissatisfied parties cannot seek a recollation or recount. However, recent developments suggest a shift in this position, raising questions about consistency, credibility, and fairness in the electoral processes. Let's take a relook at the statements that the Electoral Commission alluded to within such circumstances. So we'll take you back to Techiman South again. So this was the Electoral Commission statement on the Techiman South constituency in 2020. It said, pursuant to CI 127, all results from the 266 polling stations in the Techiman South constituency were received, collated, and the results declared. The Form 1C was used to collate the results of the parliamentary election by the returning officer. The collated results were then transferred onto the Form 1D as mandated by law. The law requires that signed copies of the forms are given to agents of the candidates at the collation center if they are present. Recollation can be done at all levels when requested before the declaration of results. However, once election results have been declared, a dissatisfied party cannot request for a recollation or recount of the results. And that is what they said in Techiman South. Again, the validity of an election for the office of a member of parliament may be questioned only by a petition presented within 21 days after the date of the publication in the Gazette of the results of the election to which it relates. This resolution mechanism is provided for under Section 16 of the Representation of the People Law, PNDC Law 284, as amended. Per Regulation 43, Sub-Regulation 2 of the Public Elections Regulations 22, 2020, CI 127, the Commission is mandated on the receipt of an endorsed writ to A. Publish the Gazette, a notice stating the name of the person elected and the total number of votes cast for each candidate, and B. Inform the Clerk of Parliament soon after that of the name of the candidate elected. The Commission has fulfilled both mandates and therefore any other action will be a breach of the law. This is what the EC said in 2020 with regard to Techiman South constituency. This year, the affected constituencies in contention include Nsuwa Maduejiri, Tema Central, Dom Kwabenya, Ablekuma North, Okaikwe Central, Fantiakwa North, and Akwetia, as the candidates continue to contend the results in these areas. Today, we will unpack these concerns with some representatives from political parties and election observers. Let's have a conversation with Paul Abrampa. He's the programs officer at CDD Ghana. Good morning, Mr. Paul Abrampa. We are grateful for your time.
Good morning, my sister.
We had some conversations leading to the elections. You said that so far, so good. The elections was, leading to the elections, it was peaceful than the various elections that had come before 2024, because if you juxtapose the timelines, this year had been peaceful so far. Now we are having a conversation post-election. Let me pick your mind 30 seconds. Do you still stand by your words that so far so good?
You can answer this question for me, my sister. I mean, all our hopes as you and I, as media, houses, civil society, peace ambassadors, and everybody in the country was hopeful that we're going to have violence-free elections in 2024, and especially judging from the opening of electoral activities by the Electoral Commission, including registration, exhibition, campaigning, that we did not witness any large forms of incidents as we have been having in 2016, 2020. We thought this year God was going to bless us to have a smooth and peaceful elections. But unfortunately, what happened at Ayawaso, a clash between the NDC and NPP, in the few days ahead of the elections, I think sparked what we're expecting to have on the poll day. And even on the poll day, I did speak to you and some of your colleagues after 12:30. That Kodio issued our midday release. We were still having calm atmospheres. Our worry was not violence. Our worry was the fact that in some places the queues were very short, and therefore we were worried that we were going to have a low turnout. None of intimidation, crimes, and violence was expected. But unfortunately, as we hit 2 p.m. going, we started having bad news across the country and got worsened during the counting collation declaration. So our hopes were dashed on the poll day. And I did also tell you that in our electoral process in Ghana, there are 2 phases or 2 main activities which generate violence. The one I spoke to you about was registration period, where we usually we see some forms of violence, and collation declaration. In peace work, peace activities, it comes with clashes, but we don't see flashes of body, machete wounds as we saw in Ayawaso, West Rogon. So that was also a unique notification we had on this election. Other than that, we're saying that since the registration had gone through successfully, our only fear and caution was of the last phases of the voting day, which is counting, collation, and declaration. And unfortunately, we have had even more recorded incidents than we had in 2020.
So you are disappointed about how the aftermath has been?
My sister, you and I, we are all disappointed because when I spoke to you, your station, we were all clapping that we need to pat our backs for what we've done so far, and we're hoping that our peace index will increase after this election. So we'll score a very high mark after this election. But unfortunately, we've been disgraced. Our hopes have been dashed. And other than even recording the fewer cases, these have had more cases. You know, I told you that in 2020, even though we had 8 deaths, I'll confirm whether it's 8 or 9 because all our records have had 8. But when I was reviewing this, I also got to know that the Savluku, the young guy who also suffered the gunshots, also died later. But that is yet to be confirmed. So we're hoping that even if we have a worst scenario, no more deaths should be recorded. But unfortunately, the data in front of me, yet as CDD, we have initial data and we confirm after our press briefing on Wednesday, indicates that we have lost some lives in Ayawaso, we have lost some lives in Kaswa, Akumadan 3, Tolong 1, Damongo 1. So I have about 9 death cases which are yet to be confirmed through our validation rounds. So far, that's the bad news we have, and we are also witnesses to the damage to Electoral Commission materials and offices. So many injuries and others, many others. In fact, in 2020, there were fewer incident cases, but high fatalities. Here we have high cases, high fatalities. So we are writing a wrong story in our election history as we move ahead. Instead of us reducing our cases, we are rather increasing our cases.
Okay. Mr. Bravo, we'll come back to this issue of writing a wrong story in our electoral electoral system, because it's one conversation that it's very important that we have. But let's go to the EC and all of these issues of collation and recollation. How do you assess the EC's recollation of collation centers and the recollation of results in already declared constituencies so far?
I always say that EC or elections everywhere is guided by rules and regulations. And sometimes when the rules and regulations are ambiguous, it's only the law courts that can clarify what exactly it is. If you ask me as a security person, I will not advise us to go back to the same constituencies that the collations have resulted in deaths. The same constituencies that the tension is not down. Then anybody who proposes that is saying that let's go and kill our people. We know what has happened. So to me, as I said, the law will determine whether it was prudent or legal. Not prudent, it was legal for the recollation. Some of them were shifted from their various constituencies to the police training was legal. But if you ask me, for security reasons and for peace, it was unwise for us to continue the collation in the same constituencies that the collations have resulted in fatalities and people dying, including burning and destruction of the Electoral Commission facilities. So it was just prudent that we shift it to a place more secured, that even the Electoral Commission officers, their materials, and the party agents who are going to observe will have a safe environment to do their business. But as I said, there's difference between what is prudent, what is needed, what is necessary, and what is legal. I've heard embargo placed on the some of the results collated and declared at the center as illegal. We leave that to the Electoral Commission to do. Aside that, there are processes of electoral validation in the country. From the polling center results validated by the polling officers, if there's any ambiguity, it goes to the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission has the right to set a committee to set its people to do recounting. They have the right to do that. As to where it should be done, the law is not clear there. So we wait for that. If anybody still feels aggrieved, the next step is to the courts. So I believe, yes, the Electoral Commission has done its work. The Ghana Election Security Task Force have played their yeoman's job, but still people think that the process has been bent, and therefore we need to look at that again. What I pray is that this instance does not prolong the process such that qualified people who are expected to represent their constituents are denied that opportunity, and their constituents are also denied fair representation. We have just been condemning what happened in the OT region, that the whole constituency did not have representation for the lifespan of parliament, which is not good for any democracy. We don't expect same thing to happen going forward. So whatever the process is, implore the parties involved to use whatever legal means it is, so that we don't record any more fatalities, as we have already said. And the judicial process, if it ends up having that, also cleared fast, so that whoever is declared the winner has the mandate to represent his people, and the people also have their representation, representing them in the House of Parliament.
Do we not place all of this blame at the doorstep of the EC? Because in 2020, Electoral Commission themselves stated that declared results cannot be recounted. So how problematic is it for the Electoral Commission to now set up coalition centers, new coalition centers in various places after what they themselves said in 2020?
My sister, situations are not the same.
Okay.
The Electoral Commission said coalition results cannot be cancelled. Like it didn't, so it can never be recollated. So if you feel like that's the process, and a case by case depends on the cases that there are not even pink sheets to collate. So it demands a carefully look at each of the cases before we judge. The situation which necessitated it was put in a context that this we don't have any serious problem. We have done the collation declaration, you have called for recollation, we have done the recollation, you are still not satisfied. Then you have to go to court. These are different scenarios we are talking about here. You saw in the video flying pink sheets across. So when it comes that way, which collation are we doing? Which results have we declared? So the situations are not the same to compare. That's why I said, since the one faction has called it illegal, it's now beyond the realm of analysis. It's now law. So let's see how the process unfolds and how the courts looks at it and advise what to do. But if you ask me, I say the situations are not the same at all.
And its mandate to do what it has done.
Come again, my sister.
So the EC is within its mandate to have taken the decisions it took.
Yes, in fact, some of us even said that because of the peace in the areas, we don't advise that the coalitions to go because people did not even respect the security. You look at what happened at Domeko Abenya. They followed them to the police station and vandalized the police station. So my sister, where else within the coalition do you think the coalition could be done while we are protecting both EC and the party agents who will be there? So we needed to take, excuse me to say, a wise decision so we don't raise tensions, increase the fatalities there. So to me, the initial decision that the EC and the Election Security Task Force took was very good. But as I said, there's difference between what is good and what is legal. Now that somebody has raised question of legality, then we allow the process to go on to see what comes up. Don't forget, in matters of litigation, the court can decide where the collation should take place. Whether it should go to the EC head office, whether it should be done at the police headquarters, the court will look at national interest and the peace of the country and advise. So let's see what happens.
Mr. Bamfa, you have followed elections for a long time now. How often would you say, how often have allegations of duress during collation been observed in past elections?
It happens almost every time. I remember in my days at the Electoral Commission as a national service person in my hometown in Carrier, district level elections. And unfortunately, I should say it was a conflict of interest or what, because my uncle was also contesting. There was a dispute in one of the polling centers, which they came to our office. They had declared one party contestant as winner of that electoral area. Then the other contestant came lodging complaints. In fact, instantly, they started vandalizing the Electoral Commission offices. So the police came in and they took all the ballot boxes to the Ashanti Regional EC office. Later, the regional director of Electoral Commission, the regional CID officer, and some people accompanied the ballot boxes. They came back to the police station, in Carrier Police Station, to do the recollation of the two polling stations. It did not take place at the polling stations where the challenge took place. It took place at the police station with the special assistant of police reinforcement from the regional CID office. Before they did the collation, then added the two stations and rather declared the one who was declared loser now the winner. So it happens almost all the time, and this is my own experience because I was a national service staff at the Electoral Commission District Officer in Carrier then. So it happened before me, so it does happen. And when it happens, and you also remember Isaac Amu's case, that stood in court for the entire lifespan of the House until the latter part it was declared for him. So it does happen, but as I'm saying that there are processes, there are laws, there are some we call this what morality also comes in. But as soon as somebody declares something as illegal, then it goes beyond you and I. It's now in the bosom of the law courts to decide the next step. But being that somebody, you and I have followed elections for quite a long time, the essence of parliamentary elections is to have representation. So it will be bad for the constituents whose results are now being withheld and who don't know when the recollation or what the courts are going to say. We can only hope and pray that whatever be the process, whether somebody is going to initiate the court process or the Electoral Commission itself is going to pray with the court to take it up to advise, the process goes on fast so that people are not denied representation in Parliament in the next House.
If these issues have been happening over the years, then doesn't it mean that the Electoral Commission as an entity or as a body has been lax in its work for all of these years? Because if every time there's elections, you know that some of these issues will crop up, duress of declaration and all will crop up, then it means that the EC has there's a leak that has to be taken care of.
Election is a stakeholdership. EC is election management body, a not security management body. What has happened now? There are crimes, despite on elections. So I overheard somebody saying is election issue also a criminal case, and all these arrests that have been made, they will not go anywhere because they are election issues. Crime is crime, and this is part of crimes. So EC is not in charge. I will say that I used to condemn the EC officials when they were responding to crimes recorded on elections. Leave that to the Election Security Task Force and the Ghana Police Service to do their work. The Electoral Commission, even though has to give its calendar to the Election Security Task Force to help the Electoral Commission provide security. The Electoral Commission is not in charge of security. So it's up to the Ghana Police Service to support the Electoral Commission. And what happened there was beyond the mandate of the Electoral Commission. So it's then the question will be, have our intelligence work well? Since we know at Collation Center, we always witness criminal activities, vandalism, and other things. Why didn't we deploy enough to safeguard some of these places? Then the next question you ask yourself is, what is the deployment strategy and plan? What is allowed and what is not allowed in the electoral process? So there are so many questions to be asked here. That I said, we can't put security problem on the Electoral Commission because the Electoral Commission is not the manager of election security in the country.
Some also believe that the EC constantly coming out to talk about one or two issues that have gone wrong since this whole process began through to the elections is one of the reasons why some don't trust the EC anymore. I remember during our conversation, Mr. Rapper, a moment. I remember during our conversation, you mentioned that this is EC's way of being fair and also open to the Ghanaians for Ghanaians to understand what is happening. Some believe that this has rather done more harm than good. The EC should have covered some things and not made Ghanaians aware of it. Because now that Ghanaians are aware of them, they have rather built a certain negative mindset around the EC. And some persons are using the EC's credibility or the EC's openness against them.
I don't buy into that argument at all. And I will never buy into it. In fact, as I said, I want to hold on with any blame games now, but some statements from our political leadership also did not help us. But as I said, let's hold on to some blame games now, and let's do a thorough follow-up to some of these issues. The concern now should be, how do we get all these seats that are not yet declared, so that our good people in our constituencies are not denied the good representation they also need in Parliament, as we're condemning what happened in Oti region, that whole constituency were suffered because of some of these challenges. So we pray no more constituency also goes through that ordeal. But for the blame game, it's not easy at all. Election is stakeholdership, and you need to inform the public. We are all commending the Electoral Commission when it instituted Let the Public Know a series in 2020. And we also advise that they carried up into 2024. So the Electoral Commission has been transparent as far as information sharing is concerned. And that's all we all need, so that it clears the air and reduces propaganda and misinformation. So I don't think that should be an argument at all as far as this is concerned. But we all also have listened to some statements, press briefings. We've read some information that our leadership have been giving out, which of course did not help. So for now, let's hold on. When we do, everything is cleared, and we converge and do our post-election analysis. You and I will be there. Then we can analyze it thoroughly to see, from you and I, from the Electoral Commission, from the police side, from everybody who was part of the civil society, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? How can we improve upon it? Then we can pinpoint specific statements and cases that people made that I think did not help the process. But for now, we can't be in fire and still use fire to quench fire. So let's hold on with this blame game. Let's see how the process goes forward, so that all the 276 constituencies are declared. And we have a full house. We have all our constituents having the representative to take decisions for them. That's what I think we should head towards now. I don't blame the Electoral Commission at all for being transparent.
Mr. Wapa, we'll come back to the Electoral Commission. Let's veer a little to our political parties. The night of the elections, after the polls had closed, our two major political parties called on their supporters to go to the coalition centers. And what for? To protect the ballot. These are people who should know better. They have been involved in various elections, at least under this Fourth Republic. Why will our political parties, who must and should know better, continue to call on their supporters in this manner?
As I said, we have had in-house meeting, and we are discussing this at CODEO level, at CDD level. We're saying some of these statements have not been helpful. In fact, and even when these attacks, vandalism started, some of the statements that came were also not straightforward. I mean, so we need to hold on for now. As I said, now the tension is so high, and when you start some of these things, you are going to increase the tension even more. We said in peace environments, you try to reduce tension before, even if you want to do mediation or you want to do settlements, you can go ahead to do. You cannot do mediation settlement in the midst of tension. So now let's hold on with these things. The immediate issue that we need to think about is, how do we get these remaining ballots or remaining seats that have not been declared worked on. So we have all the 276 seats declared. The deliberation goes on successfully. The new parliament takes over. Then we can do a thorough analysis and sometimes give recommendations. And one question I ask myself, is the Vigilantism and Related Offences Act working? How far has it been used? What is wrong with that act? Because, my sister, since we've been hammering on this since 2019, that the act was passed, if the act has been thoroughly been used, I don't think these issues will continue. So yes, in human life, you're bound to have waywardness. You want to have crimes. That's why it's expected that you have an antidote. If a crime of this magnitude comes up, what is the best antidote to use to solve it? I think there are a whole lot of discussions that we could have around this. But as I said, let's reduce our focus on the blames now and see how we go forward with the remaining seats. Then afterwards, we can do a thorough post-election analysis to find out where the cause was, where the problems are, because election is going to come again in 2028. Okay. The focus for me should be how do we prevent these things when they do occur. That should be our focus. But I mean, we'll do the analysis so that we can have the prognosis and have marketing intervention strategies going forward.
Do you believe that after all of this has come to a head, the Electoral Commission will be a better institution for this?
The Electoral Commission has always been a better institution going forward since we entered into democratic dispensation again in the Fourth Republic. Even in the era that one party boycotted the whole election, we still had the election the following year and was successful. Election, my sister, is the pillar of democracy. No democracy has been 100% foolproof. That's why I said I'm sad that we are not improving, but we are now decreasing, because I was thinking that in 2016 we had some incidents, 2017 got worsened, that now we're going to have zero, so that, I mean, you can say we are now going forward as far as peace in our elections are concerned. That we having to record huge numbers as compared to the previous election, that means we are writing a very bad record that we need to think about. Otherwise, election as a democracy is not an event. We move forward. It's the same institutions as Obama said. That will be what to do it. If indeed we do the analysis and we realize that, as you were asking me, whether the release and sharing of information was also a cost, yes, stakeholders will analyze that and see how best could the Electoral Commission handle that. Is it wrong to be sharing information? How best can they share information? Can it go to only the IPAC, the parties, instead of the general public? Which information should be withheld and shared with the general public, and which information should go to only the party leadership? There are some of these things could be analyzed and find a very fine way of dealing with them. So yes, probably we, the civil society organized, the media, we might have also played a role in some of these mayhem, because some of these announcements were made on media platforms. You get me, my sister? Yeah. So it's a whole of society analysis that we need to do. Was any fault of intelligence to see the danger ahead, so as to have intelligence deployment that failed? Was it the number of the police that was not enough to deploy to all these? So it's a whole analysis that is needed. As I said, now I think our focus should be to support the system, put pressure in the system, so that whatever processes that we are going to go through to have the rest also declared legally, so that people have the representatives is done. Then afterwards, we can do a general analysis of the entire electoral process.
Well, since we are waiting for a general analysis, before that, what are some structural reforms you will say or you would recommend in making our electoral system more robust?
My sister, it's too early now.
It's too early.
It's too early to prognose intervention, because you've not done the analysis. And for what we do at CDD, and especially on my security desk, we match the problem, the stakeholder involved, and what we think that stakeholder must do. So we do a targeted analysis and a targeted intervention. For instance, if the problem is for media, is it social media or media in totality? If it's social media, what would be the appropriate recommendation? If it's a print media, even the print media will have categories. If it's on broadcast media. So we do all this. If it's civil society, is it that we did not? Don't forget, in our second pre-election report, we said civil society and the media are not doing enough to support education. Probably, is it also coming from there? Is it the party statements? So what is it? So we'll do targeted analysis, find out because election is a stakeholder. It's not only the Electoral Commission. What did the media do that helped the election for us to have this peace or not? What did civil society organize? What was the Electoral Commission's role? NCC, what was the political parties, the structures from the constituency to the regional to the national level? So we do all this analysis, and what we find some people who have done well, we use it as best practices to announce, so that people will emulate that. One will also see that some of the stakeholders also did not help us. we point out, then we find out what they could do better in future. So it's early days yet for us to be able to find a structure. Don't forget, even in the 2013-2021, the election cases that went to court, the Judicial Service did not only adjudicate on the cases, they also provided some advice to the Electoral Commission and election stakeholders as to what aspects of the electoral process could be reformed so that we do away with some of these petty issues that come along with the election. So yes, at every point in time, we'll do the analysis, we'll find the challenges. I don't call them problems, I call them challenges, because in human institution, maybe the NDC executives will not like their people to go there. The MPP executives will not like their people to attack anybody. But as in human society, there may be bad nuts among us. What do we do then? Do we even restructure our membership structure? Do we do our code of ethics well? So there could be so many things that will come up that for NDC, MPP, they have reviewed their punitive structure within their parties. And any member who does this is going to suffer this. It could be a whole analysis that we can do to support the process so that we'll have improved process and reduce violence in future.
Mr. Brampa, we look forward to the analysis that you will conduct soon, and then we're also looking forward to engaging you in that analysis. But before I let you go, Parliament will reconvene today. In just 30 seconds, what are your expectations?
Problems upon problems in Ghana. Yes, I expect that they go and do their business that they have not been able to do with the break in Parliament over the months. What urgent issues they should do. Don't forget, His Excellency President Mahama will assume power from 7th of January. By 8th, he's in office. He will need to run the country. If there are any outstanding approvals that they need to do, if there are any outstanding processes that they need to go through so that he can continue the governance from where he meets, they have to be able to do that with national interest, not partisan interest. These blame games of siding of the speaker or speaker against us and the antagonism, I think now we've gone to a space that we need to consider the national interest first and do the business of the house that will favor the majority of the country rather than having our party mobilization in mind. So I wish to say that whatever has been the past, they need to think about the nation first, and whatever business is there for them to do for us, for the country to move on, they need to consider that ahead of any personal or party interest.
All right. Mr. Brampa, we are grateful for your time this morning, but we really are looking forward to the analysis on the elections and having more conversations with you, delving deeper into what CDD thinks about this year's elections.
Great. So we are having a briefing on Wednesday at CDD. I don't know whether my events team have already invited you, because they are inviting a minimum media. But you can have a personal invite, send your report. So it's about what the CODIO system has been able to capture so far from the pre-election environment to polling up to this date, as far as incidents are concerned, and what we plan to do going forward on Wednesday at 10 o'clock at CDD.
Okay. We look forward to that.
Right, sure, thanks.
Paula Brampa is the programs officer at CDD Ghana. We've been having conversations about the elections, post-elections, what the EC has declared as contentious parliamentary results. And he says that it was very prudent that the Electoral Commission moved the coalition centers from where they already were. All of these conversations, the two major political parties have had a lot to say on all that has been happening about the recoalition. Peter Boamotukono of the NDC, Afenyo Markin of the NPP, Edun Ketia of the NDC have all had some things to say. Let's allow you to also listen to what the two major political parties have been saying about the recoalition.
We all know how the NPP operates and how we declare. Now, Afenyo Markin yesterday held a press conference and invariably accused the NDC of distracting the polls and creating chaos all over, which is palpably false. We all know how the NPP operates and how we decried the involvement of the military in this election. The NPP insisted in using military in this election. Most of the chaos that have been caused in this election at collation centers, at polling station centers, were caused by military and policemen who invariably were working for the NPP. For example, in Nsawam, Madam Zita Okakwe, Ambassador Zita Okakwe Benson was there. Madam Zita Benson was at the station when the military invaded the collation center. Shot people, one person died. The parliamentary candidate of the NPP, who is the sitting MP, actually shot somebody himself. He is still working free. We had demanded the arrest of the MP. Nobody is saying anything. There are so many police officers here. It has been captured on video. He's shooting that gentleman. He's still sitting here. Nobody has said anything. What has necessitated most of the young people of this country rising to protect our democracy is that the security agencies are in cahoots with the NPP and they have failed to act when there is a need to act. At the various police stations where the police service are supposed to act, they don't act. Where the military are not supposed to be, they are. The military are heavily weaponized. You saw what happened in Obuasi East when the military carried guns into the police station. When we had agreed at the National Election Security Task Force that no gun, zero tolerance for guns at the polling stations. But we saw military men carrying heavily loaded arms at the polling station to the extent that a citizen had to rise and confront them and fight them and try to seize the guns. And so we have seen violence, state-sponsored violence perpetuated by the government and Afenyo Markin and his people in this election. Afenyo Markin's constituency is the worst culprit. As we speak, the vice chairman of the NDC has gone missing from Saturday. We have been looking for him and we can't find him. In fact, before he got missing, he had been beaten mercilessly. We have seen the photos and the videos of the gentleman.
I wish you could share that with us.
Yes, it's available. It's on social media. He has been beaten mercilessly with swollen faces, cutlass.
It is one of those steps that have resulted in a very peaceful battle. But I think that our colleagues in the NDC must be tolerant. They must be tolerant. If they cannot take opposing views, then of course they are not democrats. What is it that is going here that amounts to disrespect to President Mahama? Stop there. Stand there. It's too early in the day for you to start inciting people. I think
measure where we are going now, and by the ruling of the Wenchi court in the case of the Techiman issue, is that even if you are holding a pink sheet signed by the Electoral Commission, it's useless. If the Electoral Commission is able to get another pink sheet whose figures are different, then you must go according to the Electoral Commission's figures. So what check will the political parties have against the Electoral Commission officials themselves engaging in fraud? Nothing. So it's a major issue we will be addressing in the next budget to make sure that we restore the credibility of the Electoral Commission and the confidence Ghanaians have in our commission before the advent of measure. Where we are going now.
Well, so that is that. You have heard from some of the members of the political parties having their say on all of these issues. We'll bring you more on this issue post-election, what the EC has said and all. Today, the NPP will be having a press conference to state their position on the recent happenings. We'll do well to bring you that press conference and all the matters that arise. But the Peace Council had something to say. Peace Council says that follow due process at the Tesano Police Training School. And they said this to the political parties with all of the issues that arose. Let me read it. They released this on 13th December 2024. The National Peace Council is aware of a delayed coalition exercise for 3 Eastern Region constituencies at the Tesano Police Training School in Greater Accra Region. Our understanding is that the Electoral Commission moved the collation of results from Akwetia, Nsuama-Dredri and Fantiakwa constituencies to the regional level and now to the national level due to the widespread reported incidents of disruptions, distraction and arson at other coalition centers around the country. Our checks with the patterns have also confirmed that the coalition exercises at Tesano Police Training School was at the instance of the EC and not any political party or the Ghana Police Service. The National Peace Council calls on all political party representatives, to avail themselves of to redress their concerns to ensure the safety of all participants at this stage of the electoral process. The National Peace Council calls on the Electoral Commission to convene an emergency inter-party advisory committee IPAC meeting with all political party representatives and other important stakeholders to discuss and agree on an amicable resolution to the impasse. The National Peace Council also encourages the media to continue its diligent efforts to report and broadcast election-related activities to the Ghanaian public to ensure transparency of the electoral processes. The National Peace Council continues to speak with all relevant stakeholders to resolve this matter and ensure a peaceful resolution. There also has been, in all of this, the NDC parliamentary candidate for the Nsuama-Dredri, Philibert, has sought for an injunction on their recollation exercise. And I have the writ here. He has sought an injunction. He is Philibert Fume Amenope. He has taken the Electoral Commission and Frank Anodampre, the parliamentary candidate for the NPP in Nsuama-Dredri, to court on all of this. We will bring you updates as all of these unfold. Rest assured, we will bring you updates. Today, NPP will hold a press conference. We'll bring you the updates when we have it, so you should not miss that at all. And that's all for our main discussion here on ABC in the Morning today. Rest assured, like I said, that will bring you more updates and information on all of these post-election conversations, especially with the parliamentary results. But my colleague Samuel is on hand to bring us politics today. Another analysis you don't want to miss. Today he's reviewing a region, the results from a certain region. You don't want to miss that at all. Let's take a break. Samuel is up next with
This is where the headlines are probed. Policies scrutinized through an objective lens with an unbiased approach to every discussion. Key in to a series of pulsating conversations with the hard questions.
Why do you still want to run when you have failed?
I haven't. What do you mean by failed?
In-depth analysis of policy proposals.
If it is a temporary program, why do we want to still create another gold reserve exchange program also to address a temporary issue?
If you introduce a temporary measure and you realize that the temporary measure works and is sustainable, you have to rethink whether or not it should just be temporary.
And every agenda and positions intellectually debated to set the record straight.
Look, you still don't answer the question now.
Go on.
Question is, if Article 78(1) is anything to go by, your ministers of state largely are supposed to come from the parliament.
Yes.
The law says that not less than 10 and not more than 19. So these are your cabinet, your ministers of state you're going to get. How do you intend to resolve? Have you thought about managing that hurdle?
Absolutely. If I hadn't, I probably would not get on the fray to do this.
On Focus on ABC, we focus on the matter, the personality, and the answer beyond the rhetoric. Focus on ABC shows every Thursday at 7 p.m. only on ABC News Ghana Television.
Hello, good morning. You are welcome to Politics Today here on ABC in the morning with me, Samuel Limabo. Today, again, we are reviewing the 2024 results for the parliamentary and the presidential results today. Now, you look at the 2024 result, there has been a lot of surprises from the parliamentary and the presidential side. Now the NDC have had a very suitable win for them. They have had a very sweeping win across most regions, especially in the northern part of the country where the battle was supposed to be. In the northern part, people predicted that there was going to be a fierce contest between the NPP and the NDC because the two candidates for the two parties were all from the north. So we termed it as the battle of the north, but it didn't turn out to be a battle because the NDC had a very comfortable win in most regions, in all the 5 regions in the northern part. Today, our attention is on the Upper East region, where we'll be looking at how the result panned out in the Upper East region. In the Upper East region, there are 15 constituencies. In all 15 constituencies, the NDC has won in both parliamentary and presidential results, making it a clean sweep for the National Democratic Congress. If you look at the history of the region, it is a stronghold of the NDC, no doubt about that. But the percentage with which the NDC won in this year's election has been one that has been termed as unprecedented. If you look at the history books, since the 2000 elections, the NDC hasn't had the percentage they've had in the region this year. What accounted for this? We'll be looking at that. But let's get you to understand how the results pan out for both parties, both NDC and NPP. At the end of the day, at the end of the results, at the end of the ballot on December 7th, the National Democratic Congress emerged victorious in the region, amassing some 75.72% of the vote. That is unprecedented. 75.72% of the vote. In terms of the nominal vote, the John Dramani Mahama NDC candidate had 361,597 votes in the 2024 presidential results in the Upper East region. Now let's look at what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia also garnered in the Upper East region. He managed some 106,700 votes, 106,700 votes, accounting for some 22% of the vote. So you realize that this was a very comfortable win for the NDC. 75% in the Upper East region, like I mentioned, since 2000, where the party had close to 77% in the 2000 election. They haven't managed to get close to that 75% mark. But today, in the 2024 elections, the National Democratic Congress has had 75.72% of the vote. Other candidates, let's just take you quickly through what the other candidates had. These are certified results from the EC. Now, as you can see on your screen, the certified results from the EC, Daniel Augustus Lati of the GCPP had 856 votes. Ikuadonko, we know, had 0 because her votes were termed as rejected vote. Now, Christian Kobina Andrews, GUM, had 547 votes. Kofi Akpalu of the LPG, the Liberal People of Ghana, the Liberal Party of Ghana, had 486 votes. Mohamed Frimpong, NDP, the National Democratic Party, had 387 votes. Nana Frimpong Makuma Akosia of the Convention People's Party had 1,436 votes. John Dramani Mahama, like I mentioned, from certified results from the EC, has 361,597 votes there. Now, Hassan Ayaga, APC, had 2,202 votes. Kofi Cranton, Independent, has 247 votes. George Chum Brema Edu, another independent candidate, had 215 votes. Nana Kwame Bedia Kochera, independent candidate, had 743 votes. Alan Kojo Tremantin, independent candidate, had 110 votes. Now, total vote cast for the region, total vote cast for the Upper East region was, total valid vote first for the Upper East region was 477,526, and the total rejected ballot was 16,999. Total valid vote cast, or total vote cast in the Upper East region amounted to some 494,525 votes. That is 66.71% voter turnout in the Upper East region. So you realize that even though in terms of comparing this turnout to previous years, it was below the belt, it is still above the national average of 60.9, because the EC's results show that the national average, the average voter turnout across the country was some 60.9%. But in the Upper East region, we had 66. They had 66% turnout. Like I mentioned, the key focus today would be on the parliamentary result. And if you look at what the votes look like in the Upper East region, the NDC has won all 15 candidates, all 15 seats in the Upper East region, all 15 seats in the Upper East region. Now, all 15 seats in the Upper East region, the NDC has won. That the only seat that the NPP was holding in the Upper East region in that 2020 elections was the Binduri seat, and they lost it woefully in this year's election, losing to the NDC candidate in Binduri, and were not able to make any snatching or to snatch any seat from the NDC. So if you look at, let's start from Bolgatanga. In Bolgatanga Central constituency, Isaac Adongo, the NDC candidate, won the elections with 35,101 votes, as against Mr. Elvis Atia. Atia had 15,470 votes. So it was a comfortable win for Adongo in the Bolgatanga Central constituency. In Bolgatanga East, you have Dominic Ayeni, NDC parliamentary candidate, polling 12,002 votes, as against the Edwin Atia, as against Matthews Silas Amwa, who had 7,415 votes. Now, in the Chiana Paga constituency, Bila Alamzi of the NDC garnered 22,548 votes to beat Mr. Robert Alo of the NPP, who had 12,884 votes. In the Bulsa South constituency, Dr. Clement Apak had a very comfortable seat, or had a very comfortable win to retain his seat. He had 8,974 votes to beat the NPP. Mr. Seidu Christopher, who had to beat the NPP, Daniel Kwame Gariba, who had 5,061 votes. In the Bulsa South, in the Bulsa North constituency, James Agalga, the NDC candidate, had 13,344 votes, as against Kofi Thomas Alunsi of the NPP, who had 10,157 votes. Simon Akambiga Ayogo of the NDC garnered 26,190 votes to beat Otito Wese Abdallah of the NPP. In the Navrongo Central, this is Navrongo Central, who the NPP candidate had 12,203 votes, as against the NDC Simon Akimbagi, who had 26,190 votes. If you look at Bongo constituency, Charles Bawadria of the NDC polled 30,114 votes to beat Dinah Adogu Abuira of the NPP, who had 9,528 votes. In the Tanlesi North, in the Tanlesi constituency, Daniel Dong Mahama of the NDC won the seat, polling 22,575 votes to beat Robert Ayeniba of the NPP, who had 8,778 votes. So this is what happened in the Upper East region. We'll be crossing over to the Upper East region to understand what accounted for this, someone would say, abysmal performance of the NPP and the good grade that the NDC had in the region. We'll be going to the Upper East region. But before that, let's go for a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
This is where the headlines are probed, policies scrutinized through an objective lens with an unbiased approach to every discussion. Key in to a series of pulsating conversations with the hard questions.
Why do you still want to run when you have failed?
I haven't. What do you mean by failed?
In-depth analysis of policy proposals.
If it is a temporary program, why do we want to still create another gold reserve exchange program also to address a temporary issue?
If you introduce a temporary measure and you realize that the temporary measure works and is sustainable, you have to rethink whether or not it should just be temporary.
And every agenda and positions intellectually debated to set the record straight.
Look, you still don't answer the question now.
Go on.
Question is, if Article 78(1) is anything to go by, your ministers of state largely are supposed to come from the parliament.
Yes.
The law says that not less than 10 and not more than 19. So these are your cabinet, your ministers of state you're going to get. How do you intend to resolve? Have you thought about managing that head-on?
Absolutely. If I hadn't, I probably would not get on the fray to do this.
On Focus on ABC, we focus on the matter, the personality, and the answer beyond the rhetoric. Focus on ABC shows every Thursday at 7 p.m. only on ABC News Ghana Television.